Hello again. It is fashionable in Australia for white people to acknowledge that they are living in somebody else's land and to admit that others were there before them, that they have in a sense usurped land belonging to others. The white people in Canada do the same thing and talk, like Australians, of the First Nations, that is to say, the indigenous inhabitants of those places. This is all very up to date and modern, and most liberal and progressive people pay lip service to the idea that white people are, in a sense, invaders and colonisers, and that those who had lived there for thousands of years had a better right to the country than the white Europeans. I wonder, does it ever occur to anybody that with the slow but inexorable settlement of the British Isles by people from Africa and Asia, we white people, the indigenous inhabitants of these islands, might reasonably demand to be acknowledged as the First Nations of Britain and Ireland? More to the point, do you suppose that the settlers themselves ever feel inclined to accept that they are coming to land which was already occupied by the First Nations of these islands, the Britons and Celts, who have been here for thousands of years before they themselves arrived? Thinking first of the so-called Celtic fringe, that is to say Ireland, Wales and Western Scotland, those people have been the indigenous inhabitants there for at least 3 or 4 thousand years, probably more. Even in England, for most of us, our roots in the country stretch back many centuries, often many thousands of years. When the 9,000-year-old skeleton known as Cheddar Man was tested for DNA, it was found that he actually had matches to his DNA living today in the same area 9,000 years later. That is continuity for you. Of course, there have been immigrants over the years, but these seldom amounted to more than a tiny percentage of the existing inhabitants, even during the Roman invasion and the ones by the Vikings, Normans, and so on. In Ireland, the Celts have been dominant for thousands of years, and it would be nice to think that the newcomers there would at least acknowledge that they are coming to a land which belongs to somebody else. It would be a good gesture if those coming to England said something of the kind. If it is true, as white Canadians and Australians are always saying these days, that they are invaders and that others own the land before them, is it really possible that nobody sees the parallel with the modern settlement of Britain and the Celtic fringe by outsiders? We are the indigenous inhabitants of this land, and even when we permit others to come and share it with us, it would be a pleasant gesture if they were to accept that they are invaders and colonisers and that this land is really ours.